you were involved in a terrible train accident that left you in a coma and brain dead. Now, a lot of people are going to be seeing this probably for the very first time and are going to be seeing you and that are astounded that you've made such a miraculous recovery from being hit by a train. So, can you talk to us about your injuries and where you are today and how you've recovered? I can honestly tell you that in my time, and I've been in MMA now, damn, if I say it, I'm going to tell everybody how old I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the greatest welterweight of all time. Let's get on! Look at the strength of
Matt Hughes has been one of the guys that I can honestly say that has stamped his name and his signature on the sport of MMA and the UFC in general.
Matt Hughes is one of the strongest pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. A fantastic wrestler, Hughes is renowned for his ability to slam his opponents to the mat and deal out brutal damage on the ground.
History has a way of making you a part of it without you asking or without you knowing it. Matt Hughes became one of the pound-for-pound best welterweights and grapplers and fighters that I've ever met.
I'm no legend. I'm just a country boy.
We on deck, baby. Time to go to work. Come on, baby. We rollin'! Yeah! All night long, baby. I've got the pleasure to be sitting with the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Hughes.
I'm sorry, you got me on the wrong. So I'm no legend. I'm just a country boy.
Well, you know what? You're a country boy legend because I'm going to tell you.
We're going to talk about farming.
Well, I'm going to let you talk about farming because I want to know what it is that you did and how you did it. We appreciate the ride that you gave us, baby. Trust me. And we appreciate you being here. So what I'd like you to do is pull all that together, pull everything together and talk a little bit about your childhood and about your start and your career and how you started and why you started, knowing you grew up in Hillsboro.
Can you explain one thing first to the good people?
Well, let me tell you.
Why is this guy call you Elmer?
Let me tell you something, baby. My name is Burt Watson, okay? Everybody calls me Burt Watson, B-Watt, or OG Dad. Matt Hughes calls me and has always called me Elmer. E-L-M-E-R. Now, in the hood, that's a kind of a funny name to be calling a brother, Elmer. But Matt Hughes calls me Elmer. Tell him why you call me Elmer, baby.
You're the glue that holds everything to get together.
My Instagramming with my man here, Matt Hughes.
How we doing? I call Burt Elmer because he is the glue that holds this place together. And I've been calling you Elmer for years. Years.
Too many years.
So Burt does so much back there. He's the glue that holds everything together.
He always said that to me. He would say, Elmer, Elmer, and I never knew. In my head, I'm like, why the heck is he calling me Elmer? But I left that alone. I just kept going and kept going. And one day he said to me, you're the glue that holds it all together. So my name from Matt Hughes is Elmer. And I don't mind anybody else using that.
Back in the day, that was very, very fitting. You were the man.
Why don't you just take us back a little bit and explain a little bit about your start and where you started, knowing that you grew up in Hillsboro, Illinois.
Yes, sir. And I was born and raised on a farm with my twin brother. So, two things: my dad taught me how to work, and my brother taught me how to compete. So, with the work and the competition, that's what started it all.
And that was you. You had a sister and a twin brother by the name of Mark. So you guys started early. I understand you wrestled and you played football. And your high school wrestling, you were 131-2, which is impressive.
My mom says we were wrestling before we came out.
So you, with your mom, you wrestled your way out of that.
Yes, and I was born 5 minutes before my brother. Mark says he kicked me out.
Was that because you had him in an armbar, or he was just tired of you being in there?
Probably he's tired of me being in there.
Your first pro fight was in Chicago. Now, my understanding, was that in a high school gym or a high school auditorium? You had your pro debut in 1998.
It was in all girls Catholic school called Madonna High School. I don't know what it's called now, if it's even a girls' school or not, but all girls' school Catholic. That was Madonna High School.
Wow! And that was your first pro fight in that high school. Now, I understand that while you were wrestling in that tournament or in that high school, was Pat Miletich
he was
a referee, or explain that a little bit? Tell us.
He was the ref, and the guy got mad because when I took him down and I was holding his sword, and he looked up at Pat and said, "He can't do that." Pat goes, "Yes, he can." I sort of punched him in the face, and the fight was over. My theory was, if those credit guys can touch me, I'm way too close to take them down and put him on the ground. He was lost.
Wow. So this guy, you were wrestling him and you put a move on him and take him down, and obviously he didn't know what the heck was going on. So he asked Pat Miletich if that was legal or not. And Pat, being a referee, said yes.
Yes, his name was Craig the Terminator Quick. After the fight, I called him Craig the Termite Quick.
So you terminated the Terminator into termite.
Yes. Yeah, I did.
So after the match, my understanding that then Pat invited you to Bettendorf, Illinois, or Bettendorf, Iowa, to join the Miletich fighting team.
He did it. And I thought I was a rich man. After my first fight, I had $100. That $100 bought the first drinks for all my buddies.
So when you joined the Miletich Fighting System, who were some of the guys that were there and some of the guys that were involved in that at the time? Give us a name of the guys that were there.
Jens was there like a month before me, and Ben Earwood and Pat and a bunch of guys. Tim come maybe a couple months after me. Tim Serbia.
Okay, and you mentioned Jens Pulver. Jens Pulver was a part of that system. What was your relationship with Jens beyond that, and right now? Talk about your relationship with Jens.
Me and Jens are close. He taught me how to keep my right hand up because he threw that left hook all the times. Jens always had a big left hand, so I had turned my head down. I tried to cover my ribs and my jaw at the same time.
So Jens was instrumental in teaching you a little stand up, and little bit of striking, keeping your hands up. So if Jens taught you that, what were your strengths? And I've heard a few stories about what your strengths were in MMA. You tell us, what were they?
don't believe those stories you heard about me, but my strength has always been if I can touch someone, they're in trouble. So I like touch people in close so I can manhandle them because I think I'm stronger than most people.
What type of influence did Pat Miletich have on your career? You went there as a wrestler and a grappler, and you joined that system. What did he have as an influence on your career?
He knew everything. He knew the correct way to train, which our theory was I train our opponents. So we just looked at what people do, and we double that and do that ourselves. So he taught me how to train and how to come up with a game plan. But he could watch a fight and find a chink in someone's armor. He's good at looking at a fight and seeing how to beat someone.
So he was very instrumental in the development of some of the things, because you took a lot of grappling there, and they all speak very highly and talk about how strong Matt Hughes was, okay, and how dominant he was when he got his hands on you, which I knew that because I saw it firsthand. You put your hands on somebody, it was pretty much over.
Did I ever grapple with you, Burt? You Elmer?
Well, let me tell you what you did to Elmer. No, you never grappled with me, but every time I saw you, you did playfully, and for you, that's a play. But to me, that shit hurt, okay? So every time you came up to me, you're like, come here, Elmer. And you don't know your own strength, but every time you did that, it was like, oh my God.
Is the kids watching this?
No, we good.
Stop being a pussy.
Oh, my grandkids are gonna watch this, but that's okay. Yeah. You know what? They know me. I'm their pop, so they're used to that kind. They're used to that kind of stuff. So but you always used to come up to me, and it was one of those things.
I'm very playful. I'm a toucher. That's how I show my love. If it's with a girlfriend, I'm holding their hand. If it's with a guy, I'm pushing them. So I'm just a touchy person.
Man, trust me, baby. I knew it was all from here, and I knew it was all from love. I trust me, because if you didn't, I've worked with enough fighters and people to know that if they didn't like you, they didn't get near you. And the one thing that I did that I was very proud of and I loved is that you guys let me into that fraternity. You guys kind of opened your arms and let Burt Watson in, and it made it very easy for me to talk to you. So I knew how that was. It just hurt like hell, but well, you were known specifically for your strength, and it was said that once Matt Hughes put his hands on you and put you on the ground, you were done. So you were known for that. You fought in Extreme Challenge, you fought in Gladiator Challenge, and then in the initial UFC 22, 26, and 29. This was before Zuffa. So tell us a little bit about that, baby.
It's so different back then. You go in the UFC office, they'd have a couple posters for you to sign, and just not very well put together for rooms or anything. So just totally different back then. But back then, I could fight for another organization and they go to my UFC fight and fight. But now they will let guys do that.
So in other words, back then in UFC 22, 26, and 29 that you fought, you didn't have a Burt Watson. So
I didn't have Elmer. Please call that Burt guy by the right name.
Okay, so you didn't have an Elmer, so nobody put all your stuff together and coordinated and had everything lined up for you and situated for you.
Was a blessing having you around there.
And in 2001, you fought for the welterweight for the UFC welterweight championship, and you fought in UFC 34 against Carlos Newton. And that was one of the most historic UFC slam bams ever.
Yes, I didn't want that fight. He beat Pat for the title, and my theory was let Pat rematch him, so I was going to take the fight. And Pat called me up and said, "I've got your next fight. You have to fight Carlos. If you don't fight him, someone else will beat him, and the title will go to another gym." I said, "If that's coming from you, Pat, then I'll take the fight." But before that phone call, I wasn't going to take Pat's fight. Pat would kill that guy. I always thought that's Pat's fight.
Now, you know, that was an absolute great fight. One of my two favorite fights that you've ever had. But during the course of that fight, I think that Carlos Newton had you in a triangle choke, I think it was.
Yeah.
And within that triangle choke, you picked him up, took him to the cage, and slammed him down.
And McCarthy steps right in.
He's got to turn him around. He can't stay up there.
Down goes Carlos Newton.
He's out.
He's out.
He's out. Carlos Newton. Now Hughes is the champion.
Carlos Newton.
Now, the scuttle or kerfluffle around that was that you were out or you were not out before he went down. Okay, so why don't you tell us what exactly happened?
I picked him up and I took him to the cage because I didn't want to be in the middle. I wanted to lean on the cage, so I took him to the cage, and I thought I have to slam him good one time because I won't be able to pick him up. The rest of me told me, when you're in trouble, just pick your opponent up. So I picked him up. He was on my head. I just thought he would release his legs and slide down, and I'd be out of the triangle. But if you watch the film, you see I take my right leg, I step back, I slam him intentionally. So there's no doubt in my mind it was intentional, and you can see that on the film.
So you were out and you felt you were going out, so you're saying the wrestler in you told you to pick him up and slam him.
Yeah, yes. And
Wow.
It's funny, Jens was commentating that fight, so after I slam him, I jump out of the ring. I hug Jens forward. I jump back in the ring. Like 30 seconds later, Carlos is still dead on the mat. Totally dead, not responsive or anything. So I'm the winner. I think I proved that the next time we fought.
Yeah, you did, because the next time you fought, you actually took him out on that triangle, and convincingly took him out. So through UFC 34 and 52, you fought Sakuraba, you fought Carlos Newton, you fought
Sakurai. Not Sakuraba, Sakurai.
Carlos Newton, you fought Gil Castillo, you fought George St. Pierre a couple of times, BJ Penn and Trigg. You fought Trigg twice, you know, and UFC 45, there was a standing rear naked choke, which has never been seen before. You know, talk to us about that a little bit and tell us how you kind of worked your way into that.
Well, he gave me his back, so I got my triangle choke, my rear naked, and then he stood up, so I just kept my choke on. But just one of those things. It wasn't so much me. Can I speak frankly?
Go.
Burt, can I speak frankly?
Yes, you can.
That dumbass is just so stupid. He gave it to me. It wasn't my win. It was his loss.
Okay, let it go. Trigger's going. Oh, Matt Hughes' guy's back. He's got one hook in. If he can secure an over-under grip and get that second hook in, Trigg can be in big trouble here. Oh,
Look
he's
at
got
this.
his back.
Look
He's got
at this.
both hooks in, and he's got his back. This is
Can
a
he get
bad position.
And Trigg is struggling.
Falls to his back here.
So he gave you that. He gave you that for because it had never been seen before for a standing triangle. So it was either very easy for you, or like you said, it was given to you. Now, you know, when he sees us, he's gonna give me a call about that, okay?
Burt, it was easy because he's a dumbass.
Well,
he could call me too. I think he's got my number.
Well, let me say this. That was UFC 45, and then in UFC 52 on Couture versus Liddell, you got him again. Okay? You know, and this time this was a pickup and probably one of the greatest cross slams or walk across slams that I think we've ever seen. And they show it all the time.
Picture the great finish before. Hughes would be happy to let him stand up, get those hooks in and pull down that neck as he did before.
He's got it! He's got it! He's got it!
Finish. Trigg. It's all over. Matt Hughes remains the welterweight champion.
Incredible!
Now, when we're on the ground, I'm in front of Frank's corner, so I know my corner's all the way across the octagon. So when I pick him up, I'm thinking I'm going to go to my corner so I can hear my corner, and he can't hear his. So there's a lot of theory and with taking him across the ring, so I can hear my cornerman and he can't hear his. Is why I did that.
Wow. That was unbelievable. So you actually picked him up to take him away from his cornerman, so you could get closer to yours to hear him, and that's when you slammed him.
Yes. When I picked it up, I was slamming them in front of my corner.
That's unbelievable. That is totally unbelievable. You fought BJ Penn, and you know, I'm laughing because I had said to Matt, I said, you fought BJ Penn 3 times, and what did you say to me?
I fought BJ once. I don't know where you get this 3-time bullshit.
I said to Matt, I said, you fought BJ Penn 3 times. He said, no, I fought him once. I don't know what those other 2 were, but I fought him once.
I think I was drugged up in the locker room or something. He did that to me.
Well, at that point, the belts transferred, and then BJ had his kerfluffle with the UFC. The belt was gone.
What did BJ do with the? You said something I didn't hear it. BJ had a what with the UFC?
That's a street word. It's kerfluffle.
I just want to hear you say it again.
Kerfluffle. Okay.
I'm gonna look that up when I get done with this.
Well, you know what? Don't worry, because you ain't gonna find that shit, because that's a street word. Okay. He had a kerfluffle with the UFC, so he relinquished the belt. You had a fight scheduled with Parisian, and then Parisian got hurt, and then Joe Riggs actually stepped in to fight you. And this was actually for the title that during the kerfluffle that BJ Penn had relinquished, and George had it. You won it. And then Riggs didn't make weight. And this was the very first time. This was UFC 56. Riggs didn't make weight, and it was the very first time in UFC history that a title fight was not held because a guy didn't make weight or he missed weight, which, you know, again, we had kerfluffle. There's that word again, baby. Okay.
Which two times in my career, I was a title holder and fought and didn't get the claim that went as a title victory. Royce Gracie was the same thing.
Yes. Yes.
In all seriousness, I wish I could have those two in my title reign.
You know, and speaking of Royce Gracie, I remember that fight, and that was UFC 60 in 2006.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know it or not, but at the time, that pay-per-view had 620,000 views. They made $20 million on that pay-per-view.
Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest fighter to ever step into the octagon.
The jiu-jitsu master, Royce Gracie.
This is the guy who single-handedly redefined martial arts in this country.
Just tapped out. That's amazing. There's the tap. That is the power of jiu-jitsu in action.
Everything what I am is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
There it is. He's tapping out. That's it. Beautiful technique by Gracie.
Sir.
I'm not just part of the history. I am the history.
Trying to get an arm lock. He's got it. Timo tapped out.
This is my house. I built it.
That's it. He choked him out.
What we've learned tonight is fighting is not what we thought it was.
Exactly.
I want to know how Matt Hughes is going to beat me. I'm curious to know that. He's talking, saying that he's going to knock me out, that he's going to take me down, ground and pound, and the judge will give it to him. I want to see that.
I don't think he's going to come close.
Give me time, and I'll submit you.
The arm lock, he'll break his arm. He's going to snap his arm. He did.
It looked like an arm lock. He probably broke his arm.
I want to beat him for 3 rounds, him stand up, barely look out of his eyes, and say, this sport has changed.
That he's going to beat me up, that he's going to do this and going to do that. Good. I'm glad he's very confident.
The test is definitely on Royce, I think. I mean, he's the one that's going to have to do something to win the fight. All I got to do is go out and not make mistakes, and I'm going to be fine.
If I make a mistake, he can knock me out. If I make a mistake, he can submit me. But it go both ways. Don't make a mistake, because I'll be right there to capitalize on that.
I really think that Royce is going to have a rude awakening, and he's either going to need to go to school or retire.
I'm going to choke him out. I'm going to apply a submission hold. Make him quit. Help him up. Send him home.
620,000 views, $20 million, which today still stands pretty high in the fight. And in that fight with Royce Gracie, you had him in a bar, which he somehow, it seemed like he just, based on his mental and his physical attributes, he kind of eased out of it. And you said that to keep from breaking his arm, you kind of let it go. Is that true?
I let go because it was so easy getting that. I just thought I'd get him in a better submission.
Wow. Well, it was unbelievable. Because he wouldn't tap. He wasn't going to tap.
He wasn't going to tap, but honestly, that was my easiest fight in the UFC. I'm sorry to say, but he was too old for me.
Really? I like it when you give me some good stuff that nobody else has ever heard, bro. I like that.
I always think I tried to find again because I hate my last fight was a loss, so I was going to fight Royce again before that damn train took that away from me. Who doesn't get by a train?
You know what? And we will definitely talk about that. You have got such an attitude that's unbelievable with that. You finished up in 2011. Your last fight was Josh Koscheck. In 2013, you retired. Actually, and the UFC made you the VP of Fighter Relations and Governmental Relations, and this was in 2013. And 4 years later, you were involved in a terrible train accident that left you in a coma and brain dead. Now, a lot of people are going to be seeing this probably for the very first time and are going to be seeing you and that are astounded that you've made such a miraculous recovery from being hit by a train. So, can you talk to us about your injuries and where you are today and how you recovered?
No real physical injuries. My left leg doesn't quite work like it should, but I can deal with that, and therapy is really helping me with that. But my injury was in my brain. I had the worst brain injury possible, and
wow.
It just, I'm just glad. Some people say I was messed up before the train, but my brain took the big hit. The train was only going 39 miles an hour, but I think it was kind of like 60 ton of coal, so it wasn't going to slow down with that truck.
Did the train actually hit your truck while you were in it? You didn't see it coming?
The track is so bad when you turn to the right, it's at an angle where when you turn to the right and you're supposed to be able to look down the tracks, all you can see is the headrest on the passenger seat. So it's very bad. And the track is so narrow, you really don't look to the side. You're just worried some car's going to come over past you. It's a country crossing, so that there's no cross arms or anything like that.
Wow. So you were in a coma and you were brain dead from the impact of the train and everything.
I had a stage 3 diffuse accidental brain injury.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And you miraculously survived being hit by a train. And
If you can't laugh at your dumb stuff, I always say it was just a train. I was in a coma 19 days after the train. I just pissed me off. I didn't put chapstick on for 19 days.
19 days, that's unbelievable. But miraculously, you survived, and miraculously, everyone, or we've been able to see your rehab on social media because you rehab it's unlike regular training, how you go through regular training in MMA. You have to develop yourself, you have to change conditioning. And I got to think that part of your life kicked in this part of your life because you miraculously went through rehab and survived.
I did. It's no fun learning how to walk again. It's much more fun learning how to be someone else. But for me, it just wasn't fun learning how to do something I've been doing my whole life. But if anyone has a brain injury out there, take your therapy very serious. And probably the best thing I did was go get stem cell in Colombia at Bio Accelerator.
Wow.
Before that, I couldn't walk down the stairs without holding the handrail. And after I got stem cell, I could go downstairs without holding a handrail. And it was so good for me. They had the good stuff there. They put it in my spine, and so I took it through intervenal and also in my spine.
That's unbelievable. So it was the stem cell that you You know, and someone obviously, one of your doctors had to obviously recommend that that was a treatment for you, but you're saying that that was basically what helped you.
The big help was that I took my therapy serious. So I do speech therapy, physical therapy, and cognitive therapy. So I was pretty messed up after the training, so I need all that a lot. So I still go to. I went through therapy this morning.
Well,
Actually, I've had two therapies today.
two therapies today. Well, I can honestly tell you, Matt, it's such a wonder to see you and to hear. When I heard about it myself, it was, you know, an oh my God moment. And to hear later that 3 years later you had miraculously gotten to a point through your rehab where you are now. But what you did was you shared that on social media with everybody, so everybody got to see it, and it was unbelievable. And I'm happy for you, man.
I
Gee.
am too. I don't know why God put me in that situation. I think maybe He put me there to so I can help other people in their recovery of anything. So the stem cell was very good for me, but also take your therapy very serious. Everything, speech, physical therapy, cognitive therapy, take it all very serious and get yourself better.
So now, do you are you directed to that? I know you have a very the intense training for this, or the schedule for this is probably as much as you've been going through your entire life with your intense training and regimentation and preparing yourself and following guidelines. It's probably just a spinoff of what you've been doing most of
It
your
is.
life.
I do PT 3 times a week, but my cognitive therapy is like twice a week, where I have a therapist, and I'm I'm not crazy, but I still have a therapist.
Well, I got to tell you how happy we are to have gone through this with you, and I can tell you, baby, everybody in the world who is or isn't an MMA fan has gone through it with you and has prayed for you and has gone through this situation with you. Who, in your estimation, was the best BJJ practitioner in our sport in MMA?
My weight class or anyone.
Anyone.
Jeremy Horn knows so much on the ground. If we went to the ground, I knew Jeremy was going to talk to me in my corner.
And that's not the first time I've heard that about Jeremy Horn. Who would you, today or past, who would you compare your own style to? Today or past?
Khabib.
Wow, why do you say Khabib?
What's Elmer say to compare me to?
Elmer says Khabib, but so does a lot of other people. And I say Khabib because of the strength, you know, his takedown ability, and once he has you down, how he covers the positions while he's there and don't allow you to position yourself to get up. Period. Lastly, I want to ask you, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I'm gonna give you three names, and then I want you to compare the three in terms of where you think they are, how they've been with you, and to the sport of MMA. The first one is UFC.
They've been good with me. When I got in my train wreck, they put me on the insurance too, so I had their insurance when I was in the hospitals. But so they were good to me, but they also fired me from my job right before my accident. So I wish I was still in the scheme of things working for the UFC?
Matt Hughes and the UFC, and your contribution to the UFC.
I'm just an old fighter, so I might have contributed, but I got paid for that, so I don't think there's anything really with me and the UFC now. I'm just an old guy.
UFC, Matt Hughes, and Dana White.
What Dana is probably the guy that got me on the insurance when I had my wreck, so I thank Dana for that. But when Thanksgiving come here, I shot Dana a text, "Happy Thanksgiving." He shot a text right back, said, "You too, brother." So we talk now and then if we need to, but I don't waste his time talking to him because I'm sure he's super busy.
I can honestly tell you that in my time, and I've been in MMA now, damn, if I say it, I'm going to tell everybody how old I am. But
just tell them to stop listening. Just tell me.
Elmer's been around a while, but in terms of the guys who have established themselves and put a name, Matt Hughes has been one of the guys that I can honestly say that has stamped his name and his signature on the sport of MMA and the UFC in general.
I think I fought in the right time. We fought because we wanted to compete against each other. Now it seems like this guy's fight for a paycheck, and it was different for us. We fought because we love to fight.
Yes, you did, because you probably didn't fight for the paychecks they're getting now, and I can say that. But you fought because you love the sport, and you fought because not only did you fight, but you trained and you committed yourself to it. Hey, listen, baby, I want to tell you something, man. You are absolutely my man, Elmer.
Yes. In my phone, I have you under Elmer.
So when I call you, it shows up Elmer.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I got to tell you, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for helping me and joining me on Legends to Legends.
Anytime, if you need a guy to fill some air, I'll be your huckleberry.
Wow! Well, you also know that there's going to be a part 2 of this, okay? So you better get ready. Hey, baby, thank you, Matt Hughes. I appreciate you and I love you. And keep up that miraculous rehab that you're going through.
I want to thank you, all the listeners, for paying attention to a guy that really, I don't know if there's a brain in here at all. So I just had my words come out when I'm tracking halfway decent.
Well, Elmer says thank you.
You're welcome, Elmer.
Peace. I love you, baby.
All night long, baby.